I've been called back to the University of California, San Diego, to establish a design lab. We want this to be a unique laboratory, one that does design that's different from what most people are doing. So we are doing what we call complex socio-technical problems, things that require thinking as a system, complex structures and how they might be enhanced. Well, one of the big areas is healthcare. And we're in San Diego, which turns out to be a center for medical device companies, for pharmaceutical companies, for biological research, for medical research. So a lot of the work we do is healthcare. So what can a behavioral designer do in healthcare? I'm not an expert in medicine. I'm not an expert in illness. What is it that we can do? We can look at the complex operations that occur in healthcare. For example, suppose, take an example that we've looked at, someone who gets cancer. Suppose there's a little child, has a pain in the leg, doesn't know what to make of it. A few weeks later tells her mother. The mother doesn't know what to make of it, seems like a minor thing. It takes a little bit of time before the mother decides that might be a serious problem and goes to their general practitioner. And the general practitioner says, I don't know what it is, let's get an x-ray. And so you have to go and make another appointment and go get an x-ray. And then the x-ray has to be read by a radiologist. And the radiologist calls up the general practitioner, and the general practitioner calls up the patient and says, come back and we'll talk. And then says, we don't know what this is. We think you should get a biopsy. Take a little sample of tissue. And so off you go, get another appointment, have a biopsy taken, then the sample has to go to the clinic and has to be read by a clinician, and then you call back to the general practitioner who calls you back, and you go in and you are told, doesn't look so good. We think you need an MRI. You go get another appointment and you get an MRI and yet another consultation. And it looks like it might be cancer, so let's send you to an oncologist, a cancer specialist, a pediatric oncologist, because this is a child. And yet another set of appointments. And finally they decide that you have cancer, and they have to decide how to treat it. And they decide, we probably will treat it with radiation. And so now you have to see a radiation oncologist. And then you have to go to the radiation oncology clinic, where you're going to be examined by the radiation oncologist, who has to consult with a medical physicist, who consults with the dosimetrist, who consults with the various technicians who are going to administer. And then you have to go back for more consultation and what's called a simulation. And then you have to go back and get treatment. And the treatment may very well be a 15-minute radiation dose every day for 30 times. That's 6 weeks of treatment every single day. So look at all the transitions. Every single transition from one person to another, one specialist to another, one clinic to another. For that matter, if you're in the hospital, when the shift changes, one shift to another. Every transition is an opportunity for incomplete transmission of information. Medical error, basically. And how do you solve that problem? How can you reduce the number of transitions and reduce the amount of time? It can take 6, 8, 12 weeks from the time a patient first notices something to the time they first get treated. And most of that time is waiting for an appointment to come through. How do you solve that problem? That's the sort of things that we are working on, and you can actually make dramatic enhancements if you sit back and say, this is a system. Because it was never designed as a system. It was, the general practitioner has their practice, and then there's an x-ray, which is some clinic someplace else, and then there's the people who do the biopsy, that's someplace else, and the radiation oncology, that's a specialized piece of equipment. It's a $10 million device, and so that's in yet another location. And different technicians and different specialties have to do the different components of it. And it was never really put together as one cohesive system. And if we do that, guess what? There's great opportunities for, basically, it's good, sensible design. Human-centered design, user experience design, product design, system design, service design, all of these things that are part of our normal repertoire of tools and techniques turn out to be incredibly invaluable in the healthcare space. So that's just one example. There's actually many more I could tell you about, but that one example is a good start.